Good morning. I hope everyone's doing well. This is Joshua Betancourt. I had some divine inspiration this morning, so I decided I would get on and share some stories with you guys, or a story with you guys that I think is really cool and really interesting. This fact hit me, and it was because I was watching um, Dr. Teresa Bullard on Gaia. She has a program called Mystery Teachings, but in one of those programs, and she's a physicist, but in one of those programs, she mentions that um, humans, our understanding of DNA, we understand about 6%, roughly about 6% of what DNA is responsible for, and that just blew me away. Right, that thought just blew me away. So today I want to talk a little bit about that and hopefully kind of expand some perceptions related to DNA and how it impacts us. So my name is Joshua Betancourt. Most of you are familiar with this channel. It's Paradigm Shifting, and we talk about kind of esoteric ideas. We talk about meditation, conscientious awareness, transformation, growth. The intent of the channel is just to help people have better lives, lead better lives, be better examples of what it is that they want to be, and improve their communication and improve their relationships. So this is Paradigm Shifting, and welcome, welcome, welcome. So thanks for being here. I think I'm excited about what I'm going to share, and most of the stuff that I talk about, all of my videos, right, are basically off the cuff. This isn't anything that's pre-scripted or anything that I write. It's just really thoughts that I have that I feel are important to help people kind of better understand their experience. So, for a moment, I want you to imagine this. Imagine you're a racehorse, right? And as you know, racehorses, they just need to focus on what's in front of them. So they have these blinders on. And for a moment, imagine that you're this racehorse, and you're experiencing your life with these blinders on. And for the majority of humanity, that's how we live. We live completely focused on what it is that we're experiencing. The relationships that we have, the knowledge that we have, but it's all contained within this the structure of ourselves, how we define ourselves, how we view ourselves, both conceptually and from a physical perspective, physiologically, how it is that you define yourself, the way that you look, the life that you lead. But for the most part, all of us live this way, right? Completely consumed by the experience that we're having here and now. And that's dictated by, the direction of our conscious awareness, right? Where it is that we kind of place our attention. And it's similar to those racehorses, like living their life with blinders on. And so for a moment, I would ask, imagine that if someone were to come and remove those blinders off, and you look over to your left and you see a mental body, right? An aspect of you that is a mental body. And you look over to your right and you see an emotional body, right? There's this aspect of you that really defines what it is to feel emotions, the sensory perceptions related to emotions. And you look below, you know, and you see your physical body, you look above, and you see your spiritual body, right? You look in front of you and you see your auric body, right? Behind you might be your etheric body, right? And within you, maybe there's this magnetic body. And all of these aspects are components that make up what it is that you are, right? All of these aspects of these ideas really encompass the totality of what it is that you are. So, how does this relate to DNA? Well, we understand very, very little about DNA, but what we do understand is that it is basically the instruction manuals, the sequence of life itself, right? Because all forms, all matter has some type of, sequence and instruction that determines and instructs how that matter to behave, right? in the same way that, we have genetic instructions related to the predisposition of, our health, or, our mental well-being, or, the actual, physical expression of an arm. It's all dictated by DNA. So for a moment, I want you to imagine that, what we understand, that 6% that we understand, we've learned because we've been able to study it, but we've studied it with these blinders on. And the reality is that each one of those aspects of yourself is also instructed and created and formed, even though it's intangible, right? Because we can't see our emotions, we can't see our thoughts, right? We can't see our spiritual bodies, or we can't see our magnetic bodies and those aspects of ourselves, but they're still real parts of what it is that we are. And there's still some sort of divine instruction related to how that is associated with us as a being. So imagine for a moment that that 6% that we've studied of DNA, right, with our blinders on, has only been related to the physical expression and the physiological expression of our existence. And that if we peel back the layers of the onion, that we find that DNA not only controls the way that the physiological expression of my cells, right, become a hand or an organ or my heart or my mind or my eyes, but it also dictates and has the same instructional capacity, right, to create an emotional body, or a mental body, or a magnetic body, or an auric or an etheric body. And then with the understanding that, okay, from a physiological perspective, we can look at DNA and see if someone has a predisposition towards a disease, or if someone has a predisposition towards a specific outcome, that DNA also has that same level of control and that same level of instruction on all of those other areas of your life. So why is this important? Well, for the most part, because we're completely focused on this physical expression of life, right? We direct our attention to solely that, and we lose connection by far and large to other aspects of ourselves. Now, not necessarily the aspects that really come to the surface as we experience life, right? Because we experience pain, we experience emotion, we experience joy. So the emotional body is something that I can say, yeah, we have that, and you'll understand it, even though it might not be completely clear. You know that you feel emotions based on what you experience. And the same with the mental body, right? But there's other aspects of being alive, right? Of being divine, that we have completely forgotten, right? And that we, because we can't see, we can't touch it, it's intangible, right? It's relegated to this area of belief, right? Or superstition. So my point being is that if we're solely focused on this idea of a physical expression, right, then what we do is we deny ourselves the opportunity to understand more about what it is that we truly are. And this idea of DNA and the impact of DNA is something that has been kind of spoken to and practiced and enhanced for thousands of years over the secret lineages of humanity, right? Through the modern mystery schools, through other mystery schools, through the kind of esoteric understandings of Hermetic philosophies, through the lineage of King Solomon, through what some people would consider magic, right? But the reality is that because we haven't been aware or educated, properly educated on what these aspects of ourselves are, it's almost as if these components of ourselves have become subconscious and locked away in a secret room, right? Just waiting to be discovered and waiting to be understood. So recently, the proliferation of this idea of being able to create your own reality, right? This idea of manifesting, this idea of, the law of attraction, and how that's kind of proliferated throughout humanity, and people who align to it, right? And align their emotions and align their thoughts and their intent and all of those things to create the reality that they want. Has become more and more common, right? You see more and more people creating vision boards, and more people having intentionality behind, their expression of life. These things, are small pieces of what those ancient philosophies, or those, philosophies of esoteric understandings and hermetic principles. There's just a small component of what those things are, right? Um, you know, and I guess what I'm trying to say is that those ideas come from these old understandings, these old, scripts and these old kind of practices and teachings related to the full scope of what it is that we are. All right, so where am I going with this? So the reason I say this is because we've forgotten and we've lost connection to this aspect of ourselves. And there's a process, right? There's a modality, a healing modality that can reawaken and reignite those aspects of ourselves. And that process, as I understand it, right? And I'm sure there's many, but the one that I'm making reference to is called life activation. And life activation has been around for thousands of years, and it's been actually handed down for those thousands of years from teacher to student, teacher to student, teacher to student, and it still exists today. And it's this divinely powerful experience of reconnecting to those other kind of forgotten aspects of what it is that we are through the sequence of activating your DNA, right? Through the act of reigniting the connection between your conscious awareness and the physical, actual expression of DNA as it exists within the physiological aspect of what it is that you are. And what this does is it reignites connections, synaptic connections between your nervous system, your brain, and your conscientious awareness so that the veils or the illusion or the fog starts to fall away and you start to remember and become aware of and experience these other components of what it means to be human, right? A lot of people talk about, awakening. A lot of people talk about, being conscious and being woke, right? All of these are small components of kind of reconnecting with the full scope of what it is that we are as humans. So that's what today's talk was about. It was, I woke up this morning and it was like, dude, you've got to talk about this. You've got to share this understanding, and you've got to give people a path to seeking that out if they're so inclined. So I would say to this to all of you who are seeing this and might be interested in learning more, go check out the Modern Mystery School. That's it's a phenomenal place to kind of better understand some of these ideas and concepts that I talk about. If you're not familiar, go pick up the Kybalion, Kybalion. It's a really powerful book that talks about the introduction to Hermetic philosophy and Hermetic principles and how they impact your life. Or reach out to me. Right? Reach out to me, shoot me a text, say, hey, this is something that I want to learn more about. I'm a certified life activation practitioner through the lineage of the Modern Mystery School, the lineage of King Solomon, and I'd be more than happy to talk at more depth about this and how you might be able to connect with someone who can help you understand this better. So that's what the talk was about today. I appreciate you guys being on. As always, I hope that you are all doing well, that you and your families are staying healthy in the midst of this strange time. Kiss your babies, tell your loved ones that you love them, and be an expression of divinity and light for all of those that you come into contact with. I hope you guys have a wonderful Wednesday, and until next time, you guys take care.